might think the best years of animation have already happened in the 2010s or the 2000s or even earlier. However, these 8 episodes stand with the best episodes I've ever seen in my life, such as one of the most wholesome episodes I've seen in a long time. Now, the 8th best episode isn't from wholesome shows like Hilda or Summer Camp Island, it's actually from the most wholesome show of our childhoods, Family Guy. Take a look at how this episode starts with Carter meeting this young girl.
Sorry, we have to hold an adult's hand when we cross the street.
No, it's fine. I just can't remember the last time someone held my hand.
It's actually not Carter or this young orphan girl who make it wholesome, but they provide a big clue. You've probably seen Family Guy clips all over, and it's safe to say that 90% of them go viral because they're edgy and sometimes funny. This episode did the exact opposite. Carter takes a liking to finally being able to be the dad he's always wanted to be, and as wholesome as it looks, there's a person who has a problem with it.
Not now, Lois.
What about the zoo?
I'll take you to the trading floor on Wall Street instead. Now that's a zoo!
So even though everyone enjoys seeing a softer side of Carter, this is not his first or only child, so it brings out a completely different side of Lois. Who wants the feeling of knowing that your parents want to do a better job at parenting with somebody else's child instead of you? I'm sure it relates to a lot of people, but no one wants that at the pit of their stomach. Even though Lois is the adult in this equation, she resents the child, and it's hard to tell her to get over it when they're so blatantly in her face with it. Take a look at how Carter would do the exact opposite with this child by actually ignoring business calls.
There's a Mr. Important on the line.
Tell him he'll have to wait.
What? Well, Daddy would always take business calls when I would play with him.
The funniest part about this is that he ended up taking the call later on, but just the mere gesture that he would ignore a call, something Lois never experienced as a child, that just gives me chills. But that's nothing compared to the best part, where after the child unfortunately gets lost and falls into a gorilla pit, I hope you get the reference, it is Lois who rescues her, putting her own insecurities about her father to the side to save a young girl who never had a father to begin with.
I hope you can forgive me.
I always wanted a big sister.
As wholesome as this episode was, this next episode is the opposite, and I don't know if I can show you it, but let's keep this a secret between you and me. So, Total Drama has a new season out, and technically to some of you, there's 2 new seasons, as the first season of the reboot technically hasn't aired in the United States yet. So as my controversial pick, we have to talk about one of the funniest episodes I've seen this year.
That's what you get for growling at me!
So, that's Scary Girl, and probably her best moment of the show. Drowntown Abbey doesn't have my favorite moments of every character, but it is the only episode I believe that shows the best of everyone involved. The irony is not lost on me for rooting for Scary Girl to beat up a bear, but he had it coming. He punched one of my favorite characters in the face. As you know, Total Drama is full of archetypes. You have Ripper here, an alpha male who overestimates his ability so much he gets caught in barbed wire. There's Nichelle, who plays as an action star but is so unathletic, she makes a lethargic piece of toast look like Usain Bolt. We also have a character in this show that saw the obstacle course challenge, wanted nothing to do with it so bad, he celebrated not participating.
Sitting out for the ferocious trout will be Damien.
Yes! Whoa! Yeah, baby! Good luck, team.
You get to see how different people react to the same challenge. But that's not the secret to Total Drama's success or failure. It's the dynamics. This episode builds Ripper, the alpha male I spoke about earlier, and him rubbing people the wrong way, like Priya here, who builds a friendship with Millie, who's secretly recording her thoughts for a science experiment. However, my favorite dynamic of the first season of this reboot of Total Drama has to be Chase and Emma, the couple that is as stable as using your neighbor's Wi-Fi from the town over.
Emma, look! One hand!
Bears are my new favorite animal.
Bears are one of my favorite animals as well. But let's talk about favorites in this next episode. I'm sure at some point you might have either thought about or actually went out of your way to make a corner of the internet yours, about you and your interests, maybe on YouTube, TikTok, or if you're really old, Tumblr. Imagine if you showed your corner of the internet to people who are close to you and they went, I don't know, you should put what I'm interested in, like underwater volleyball or the Alpha J Show secret knitting channel. Well, that's Laguna's problem from this Monster High episode, Monster Movie. But there's a catch. She doesn't want to be known as the violent girl. And she might be violent if she disagrees with her friends. Take a look at how Draculaura takes the lead role in a movie that was about Laguna for Laguna.
That is fine, right? I will not disagree. I will not fight. I will not scare off my friends. Division is what's important. It is no big deal to let Draculaura play my part. The part based on me, written by me, for me.
Speaking as someone who does struggle with anger and has struggled with it for like the last decade, I learned that for me, I observed it growing up and how people used it to communicate in very poor ways. And Laguna's the same way.
You see, Mama wanted tuna for dinner, Theo wanted halibut, and Tia wanted sunbather. No one would back down. Tempers flared, chomps ensued. Now the rift between us is greater than the Mariana Trench. If only Mama wouldn't have argued.
And sometimes, rather than disagreeing and getting through a heated discussion, I would just prefer to accept things and deal with the emotions later. But the problem with this is that sometimes this can build up so much inside of you that now the tiniest issue, you're letting out days, weeks, months, or years of anger to something that wasn't worth all that. So how does she tell her friends that she's frustrated without being overly angry about it?
When things are a lot, I twirl my bracelet. Like now. Talking to you seemed like a lot. But what I don't understand is why things were a lot for you. All day you said everything was okay.
This is Twyla, and she's very shy, and she's also autistic. She's just another character in Monster High, but because she's so unique and how she's used to solve problems, she's one of my favorites from the show, without Nick bashing me over the head with representation. Twyla isn't loud, bold, or known for being tough, however she is able to help because she also struggles with communication and becomes the best person to lean on.
So how about we help Laguna make what she wanted to make?
If you still want to do that.
Absolutamente!
Extravaganza!
While Nickelodeon doesn't have a lot of my favorite shows of recent time, I need to give flowers to this next episode. The flower plot from SpongeBob has to be hands down one of my favorite episodes from the show within the last few years, and there has been some competition. I could have put Ma and Pa's Big Hurrah that showed more of SpongeBob's parents, the Salty Sponge, I talked about that earlier, and that showed the inside of the Salty Spittoon, how tough are you? Or even the Goob Father, which extended the lore of the Goofy Goobers. But when we speak about SpongeBob episodes not being what they used to be, this episode here felt like the best pick because it serves as proof as to what we've been thinking about this entire time.
I'm Mr.
Oh, you don't have to tell me who you are. You're Mr. Krabs, huh? And you run the Krusty Krab, huh? It's my favorite restaurant, huh?
Well, nice to meet you, Petunia.
Now, spoiler alert, this is Plankton disguising himself as a florist to trick Mr. Krabs to get the secret formula. As we know, there's been a lot of duds with this concept, usually ending with Plankton either being unlucky or too impatient, breaking his disguise and having his plans ruined. This episode, though, Plankton didn't get impatient. They did something completely different. Take a look at how happy he is.
Soon, we will have their formula!
Well, I don't know about that.
Huh?
Actually, I was thinking of putting my plan on hold for a while.
What?
And becoming a full-time florist.
This is because throughout this episode, he's shown to slowly get used to how Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob, and Squidward treat him. Plankton. And he realizes halfway that he doesn't have to rush this. He can enjoy his life as a florist, and honestly, as you can tell, he really enjoys doing it. Karen is even supportive of this. Yes, Karen, his computer wife, who has been dismissive of a lot of his former plans. And I get that the status quo is God, but I would love to live in the alternate universe where he did just quit. Fortunately, the way he fails is kind of funny.
Petunia the florist, will you marry?
You loopy, lovesick lummox! You sabotaged my whole plan!
The visuals here are amazing, but once you see this next pick, it will blow your mind. Before we get into why, I want you to take a look at these visuals, and I want you to see for yourself.
Oh, man, what is that? You get that at Radio Shack?
Hey, man, I'm just freelance. I ain't no cop.
This is Terry, and the show is called My Dad the Bounty Hunter. And after meeting Glorox, the person who ends up saving him from this predicament, they'd become partners in bounty hunting. And this is actually the style the show would have went with, but unfortunately, it would have been too expensive. So instead, we get the 3D style, and they make what happens at the end of this episode look like a movie. But first, some quick context. So within Planetfall, Terry might be dead. At least from what we saw in the prior episode. When you see how Terry and Glorox were first on the same side, you can see how Glorox feels a bit of remorse for being responsible for his death. Imagine what Terry's kids would feel seeing their father die.
That was our dad, you jerk!
Prisoners to their cells! What's everybody looking at?
You're gonna pay for what you did to our dad, Squidface!
Glorox would struggle with being responsible for the death of his former partner turned enemy, but also his passion to be a feared and respected leader. I love the design of everyone here. From Glorox's octopus tentacle-like design, Lisa and Sean, the two children here, they also have incredible designs. I love the texturing of their hair so much. But also Vax, who I'm afraid to show you because once I do, I could never search her on Google Images again. But this is a sacrifice I'm willing to take.
Lisa, these feelings, they are important, but they are for another day. They will not save us right now. We must focus on the moment.
They have to band together to break out of their prison cell. And before we get to my favorite scene of this year, I must show you the greatest design humanity has ever seen and will see. It is these Chillas who managed to rescue Terry, who ends up not being dead, and also band together to build morale for a big epic comeback. What follows next is one of the greatest sequences I've ever seen. Just like in the flower plot, a disguise is used here too, and right before they have their big fight scene, Terry spins the ship and it starts rotating in space. They shift and stumble around. The confusion sets in on both sides, having this dizzying onslaught. Like, there aren't words in a dictionary that describe how attention-grabbing this scene is, but there are words I can say when Terry, Sean, and Lisa reunite.
Sabo, I didn't know.
Daddy! You're okay!
Sean!
Dad!
I was blown away by all of the characters in this show. However, the most impressive character I've seen this year goes to another show. Earlier this year, I did a poll on which of the first two episodes of Adventure Time, Fiona and Cake were better, and Simon's episode was the clear favorite. However, Simon is not the most impressive person in this episode, and neither is Fiona. The Winter King star is the Winter King, who charms the pants off of everyone. Within this dimension, he rules the land and doesn't seem to break a sweat in the process, which plays into the insecurities of the Simon that we actually do follow.
Is there a Betty in this world?
Betty? Betty. The dead one! Yeah, I haven't thought about her in a long time.
Holy crap, that's actually deranged. But that's why it works. The Winter King works because underneath the facade of his musical number, his perfectly happy servants, and his supposed lack of missing a loved one is a lie. He gets kidnapped by the Candy Queen in this episode, and everyone's on their way to rescue him because of how nice of a guy he is. However, with one kiss, we learn the truth about him.
Huh? What's happening? My magic, it's gone!
Fiona, help me!
He was the villain the entire time. He killed people with kindness and made himself appear like the last person to be suspicious about. Even in disintegrating here, he leaves a lasting impression on Fiona, who at the very start of this show dreamed for someone like him to whisk her away from all of her problems. Simply put, she won, but at the cost of her dream. However, you won't see a better disguise than the one in this next episode. Farley is one of the best episodes I've seen in a long time. If you haven't heard of or watched KIF, it's a comedic slice of life show that absolutely blew me away. While I wouldn't say it's a spiritual successor to Gumball, one thing both characters have in common is their ability to remain confident saying blatantly wrong things, such as how KIF ruins this stuffed animal.
No, wait,
sorry, I'm so dumb. It's mayonnaise. Wait, no, I actually think it's peanut butter. It's peanut butter. No, that's for gum in your hair. Try toothpaste.
However, this isn't just any stuffed animal. This is Farley, and he is the best friend to Kristoff here, the youngest brother of Barry, Kif's best friend. Farley and Kristoff always stick together ever since he's been passed down from Barry's older brother. Barry decides to take Farley to get cleaned, and Kif has to play the role of the stuffed animal best friend of Kristoff. Take a look at how mundane the adventures of Kristoff and Kif disguised as Farley have.
Okay, maybe this is gonna be a little harder than I thought. Starting to get a little rug burned here. Maybe I can just... that's a little better. Are we going in circles?
To us, it's boring. To Kristoff, this is his entire life up to this point. This is his partner in crime. Whatever is going on in his head, we can only imagine, and some of us can relate to that. Kristoff sets up Farley on the edge of a window to be pushed off as a magic trick, and because Kif would be hurt from this height, she breaks the immersion, but offers something greater.
Stop! I am alive. Farley is alive.
After the initial shock, Farley and Kristoff begin to bond in a way where in the real world, we can only dream of. If you've ever had an imaginary friend or manifested a friend through a stuffed animal, for your best friend to come to life would most likely be the best day of your life up to that point. You can see it here in how Kif is happy to see a different side of Kristoff, a happier side of him, who is in awe that he can now have fun with his best and only friend in a way that he never could before. However, unfortunately, all things must come to an end, and the real-life Farley must revert back to the silent Farley, and Kif, as well as I, feel a way about that.
Thanks, Kristoff. My special day is almost over. And the next time we see each other, I might be a little less chatty. But that doesn't mean we're not pals, okay?
I won't spoil the ending because that is absolutely the best part. Go watch Kif. But the only other show that I liked just a teeny bit more came from the network I would have least expected. If you were to tell me, the kid who grew up on Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, to then be the teenager who was experiencing the golden age of 2010's Cartoon Network, who then became the adult who speaks about these eras quite fondly, that his favorite show of 2023 would come from Disney, I would say, how in the world did you time travel? Take me to the future. I want to get tomorrow's lottery numbers. This is Moon Girl's biggest fan, and also her mother. However, she doesn't know that. She views Moon Girl as an inspiration to their community and a role model for her daughter Lunella, who ironically is the girl underneath the mask. If you've never watched Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur before, a big part of Moon Girl's duties is to take care of her specific community, which is full of several minorities as they make their part of the Lower East Side of New York a culturally accepting one. She's faced enemies large and small before, from ones that steal power to ones that speak in the third person. However, I believe the most interesting enemy comes from the episode that I would consider my favorite this year, Like Mother, Like Moon Girl.
You can call me Marcy.
And you can call me Marty.
We're the Muzzlers!
These are the Muzzlers, and they're looking to move to LES to improve it, and do so with their inventions, even upgrading the computers at Lunella's school. And some of you probably see where this is going.
This unlicensed food cart is in violation of the new vendor regulations.
Vendor what?
Only pre-approved Muzzlebot vending machines are permitted on this block. Your ticket, sir.
What? But I've been selling falafel here for 15 years!
Thank you for making the best LES.
When you look at a villain, we tend to think of the strongest ones, the smartest ones, the most intimidating ones. However, the Muzzlers aren't any of these. Moon Girl is not fighting just two people. She's fighting gentrification. All she wanted to do was improve the community, like a superhero should. However, some people improve a community so much, they lose what made it in the first place. For Moon Girl, this hits deep. she takes it super seriously because she's a part of the community, just like her biggest fan.
How could you support something like this, Moon Girl? I thought you were supposed to look out for us. To speak out for us. I guess I expected too much.
She didn't just let a community down. She let down her mom, who has no idea that the biggest disappointment to hit her community was her own creation. Her own black daughter. Lunella didn't know how gentrifications have broken up communities before, and in this case for the ego of people who don't even live here, and she was the black girl being the face of it, that no one knows besides herself and her best friend. This isn't just a random superhero fight anymore, and that's what makes the comeback so legendary. To me, this is the best episode because the battle to get their community back is built off of several episodes of watching them having fun within it, as well as being a black woman, as well as wanting to be the best superhero she can be, as well as the fact that the villains act so disconnected from the community that you want to see their faces get punched in, as well as the amazing song that comes from this. But the best part is that even when the muzzlers try to silence the community, it isn't Moon Girl who saves the town. It's the entire community who saved Moon Girl from nearly becoming her own worst enemy. If that doesn't make you super excited for the second season, I don't know what will. In fact, speaking of the future of Disney, you should check out this video here for one of their upcoming shows that unfortunately might be off to a rocky start.